You have no idea how hyped I am for Danmachi now. I am so shocked at how good this first episode was. When I saw the trailers for it, I thought, damn, that fighting looks cool. There's no way they're going to keep it up throughout a whole episode. I thought there'd be maybe one scene in one episode and then another in another episode, like they'd never get more than one in each episode with how good they looked. But I mean, in this first episode, they had every fighting scene from the PV. 4 fighting scenes, 4 awesome fighting scenes on Sword Art Online's level right there. And to be honest, that was what I was worried about when I saw the PV, was that it was just going to be a bit like Sword Art Online, where the main guy was way too powerful and there was just no challenge in it whatsoever, so there was no point. But the main guy in this is weak as shit. And I like that. I love that in anime. I want them to start off weak and I want them to have to work their way to the top. And that's what it looks like this anime is going to give to us. So, should you watch this anime? Definitely. Is it a bit ecchi? Yes. The main girl in it is a goddess who has way too revealing clothing on and a pretty ridiculous body. So if you don't like ecchi, this may be a bit of a problem. The scenes do tend to focus on her chest and her bounciness a bit. And there's another girl that the main guy's in love with, blah, blah, blah. A lot of girls otherwise in the anime, so yeah. It's going to focus a little bit on the ecchi side of things, but I don't mind that too much. And if you're into anime, you probably don't mind it too much either. It wasn't to ridiculous High School DxD or High School of the Dead levels. So yeah, definitely give this one a check out. It looks like it's going to be a bit like Sword Art Online, but hopefully without all the downfalls that that had. Okay, so spoiler flag for this episode is up, and I'm going to go straight into it. So our main hero's name is Bell, and he's a very weak familiar to a goddess. The familiars are people that live alongside the gods who have come down to live with them. The gods and goddesses give them power, and then the familiars go into the dungeons to kill monsters and to recover items from them and make a living that way. And he's one of the poorest familiars out there, along with his goddess Hestia. Hestia is a very attractive, short, big-boobed girl. Pretty common lolly kind of character. She's clearly very in love with Bell. She's constantly grabbing him and making jokes about sleeping with him and stuff. And I don't know, it's kind of cute, but it gets on my nerves. I mean, I've seen enough anime to be used to this kind of amount of fan service, and they do focus on her assets a bit too much when she's in the scene. But she's very cute and protective over Belle. It's very sweet when they're together. But it's not too distracting from the actual show. So Belle has been going into the dungeon to try and earn a living for them, but Hestia has to work part-time as well, which is kind of looked down on. Like, they should be making enough money based off of Belle's dungeoning, which is kind of sad. So Belle sticks to himself while he's in the dungeon. He's a solo dungeoner, which reminds me a bit again of Kirito, but unlike Kirito, he's not superpowered and able to handle everything by himself. He gets knocked around a lot. That first scene that you see in the anime is a Minotaur chasing him and trying to knock him out. And they're a very strong creature that he had no chance of taking out. So he was just running away like a little baby screaming. And then we meet our main love interest, I guess, Eis Wallenstein, which is a very confusing German word with the Japanese pronunciation. I'm not sure how to actually say it, but I think it's Eis Wallenstein. That's how they're saying it anyway. She's another super powerful familiar of the Loki familia. Loki? The Loki familia, I guess. And her nickname is the Kenki, the Sword Princess. And she's extremely powerful and dungeons in a big group, along with a bunch of other people, including the guy that I really liked the look of before this anime started, Beto. And I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name either, because it's written B-E-T-E, but pronounced Beto. So I first thought it was going to be Bait, like B-A-I-T, but I don't know. It's pronounced Beto, written B-E-T-E. And he's a very cool looking character, but he's one of those really stuck up, super confident, overconfident, dickish characters. So you can tell that as the story goes on, Belle and Bait are going to have a lot of fight going on. Eis, on the other hand, seems like a very nice girl. She protected Belle when he was in danger by killing off the Minotaur. And she didn't seem to like when he was getting insulted. Now, there was this very powerful scene where Bait was very happy about how much he'd been leveling up, how much experience he'd been getting in the dungeon. And when he was out having dinner, he overheard Bait and Eis having dinner, and Bait was just basically taking the piss out of him, talking about that beginning scene where the Minotaur got sliced up by Eis. and Eyes saved the kid's life, Belle's life. And he was saying some horrible things about how Belle looked like a tomato because he was covered in blood. And it was just really sad. Like, everybody was really uncomfortable around Bait, but he kept going and taking the piss out of him. Which is obviously because Bait seems to have a thing for Eyes. He was talking about how a tomato like that couldn't be anything to Eyes. Obviously kind of defensive because Eyes must have been clearly interested in Belle. So that scene was very powerful. All of the fighting scenes, as I said, were very good. As soon as that scene ended, Belle went running out by himself into the dungeon again and took on way more enemies than he should have. He killed them all off, but he got the shit knocked out of him to the point where he was bleeding madly. Went back home to Hestia and collapsed in her arms. And it was very sweet. He's so focused on becoming strong so that he can, like, be on Eyes' level and be able to talk to her and ask her out. And that's very cute in my opinion. That's the kind of story I like to hear. The sweet, innocent, geeky little weak kid who's going to try to become strong and powerful so that he can be with the girl he wants to be with. That's nice. That's the kind of teenage story I want to hear. And this whole thing has just been awesome because it's set up just like a video game, and it's exactly the kind of video game I'd like to play. Like, even when they're checking each other's stats, they come up with a little screen on paper instead of an actual screen, which shows how much his stats have gone up, which is really a cool touch in my opinion. And like, they call the bits of the monster that stay around when the other ones disappear drop items, just like in a video game. It's amazing, and this video game, if they made it, would be incredible. I would play the crap out of that. So this was a very strong starting episode. We heard a lot about Belle and Hestia, quite a bit about the world. We got into the general idea of who he is and who he wants to be. And we got to know the dungeons and all of that. It was very good. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 for the first episode. Lots of good fighting scenes, lots of drama and character development, setting up everything. So we'll see how it goes from here. As long as it doesn't go down a harem route or just focus too much on the ecchi, or if they didn't spend too much money on that first episode and they won't be able to have a fighting scene for the next 6, we should be good. If it keeps up with this level of quality, it's going to be an amazing series. So thanks for watching, guys. Leave a comment to let me know what you guys thought. Like and subscribe for more, and I will see you next.